I'm here with Ryan of Fit for a King to talk about their upcoming new record, Lonely God, out August 1st on Solid State Records. It's an absolute pleasure to sit down and chat with you about this incredible record, which I predict to be top album of the year within this genre. You guys are setting it, at the very least, you're setting the bar to which every other album should be measured to.
Well, we had to put out the album early in the year so other people can catch up and beat it.
I don't think they
Yeah.
will, though. They can
Well, I
try.
appreciate that.
They can
Yeah.
try, but to beat it is very tough because man, when I analyze this album from a design standpoint, structural standpoint, musicality, song structures, lyrics, vocal performance, I mean, you guys are checking all the right boxes, at least for me, which makes this a very strong album, top to bottom. It didn't surprise me because I've seen the growth over the last couple of records from you guys, and I wanted to ask you, what has been the catalyst for this continuous growth?
I think just the openness, not only to try new things, but we have tried with each record to find ways to get everyone in the band involved, not just like a couple people. And this record was kind of like the, I think we found the right role for everybody to be involved. I think this was the first time everyone in the band had their fingerprint on the record in a way that like flowed and made sense. Because in the past, people would bring ideas that were because we have a lot of people in our band that are from other bands. Like Daniel is from Phineas, Trey, our drummer, writes also for Invent Animate. And then, Tuck has off-road minivan, so he's like into, a lot of the emo music. Me and Bob grew up with deathcore and all that. So finding ways to like make that work has been a challenge because somebody would bring something where like that doesn't really sound like Fit for a King. That sounds like something else. And I'd say this is the first time we found a way to like get everybody's opinion and get everybody's style into the record with it feeling like it's Fit for a King still, which is and I think each record we've done that a little bit at a time. And
A
I've
little bit
always
more.
felt good leaving each record because I know we could do better. And I still feel that way, but it feels like things even went faster with this record.
When you look at your own personal development and your own personal growth, are the two completely synonymous with one another, the growth of the band and your own personal development?
Definitely. And I think it just comes to with like being a dad and stuff. You kind of have to, ideally, you grow as a person as you're a dad
Ideally.
and you ideally, not every time, but, so I think that's helped a lot. And I think as the band becomes more quote unquote professional, it also helps you just grow as a person as well. It helps you mature because you're not just goofing around anymore, but we still goof around plenty.
So which one came first, the being a dad and having to mature, or maturing and then becoming a dad?
I'd say becoming a dad, then maturing for
Yeah,
sure. I think that's how most of it turns out.
I can speak from personal experience. That's what happened with me. Definitely,
Yeah, that's
being a dad was a wake up call that made me like, I gotta be serious.
maybe I should start doing my laundry faster.
Yeah, and not leaving stuff on the floor. Now he does it, my
Yeah.
son.
I
So
know because I always it helps when you have a kid too that you have to tell them like, hey, don't leave that out because you're like, wait, I just left that out. I have to start picking it up now that I'm lecturing them about picking it.
yeah, you got to lead by example. Before we dive
Exactly.
deeper into this record, let me ask you about the title of the album because I thought was really an interesting title choice. I don't want you to explain to me what it means. I just want you to give me your own personal take on what it means to you. Because I'm sure everybody's going to look at the record, listen to the album, look at the cover, look at the title, and make their own assumptions on what it means to them. But what does it mean to you?
Well, we wrote the record or not wrote it but recorded it in November, so when the election was happening, obviously a pretty big deal in America every time it's all you ever see anywhere. And we were just kind of talking as a band about like power and people in the absolute highest forms of power, like even people that would be above the president, like how they have all those donors and stuff. We were like, man, how those people that are like gods on earth like can do whatever they want, control whatever they want. Most of them are pretty lonely. Like people hate them. Like Most people would spit in their face if
Yeah.
they could see them. So it's like they have money, they have power, they have everything, but they don't have any devotion. And what is a god without any devotion? So that was kind of where Lonely God came from. And we kind of expanded on it. And it can mean a lot of other things too. But like you said, I want to leave some room for interpretation.
Wow, that's a very interesting take. It's lonely at the top.
Yeah. And it's a lot of times the things you have to do to get there makes you not that great of a person. I've always
Yeah.
said there's no such thing as a good person who's been the president.
Yeah, or anybody, and it kind of reminds me of
The
Squid Game.
highest levels of the of power, there's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
really good people.
You have to be cutthroat at some point in time in order for you to achieve that. Like I said, kind of reminds me of this last season of Squid Games, where for you to reach the pinnacle, there's a lot of bad things you need to do along the way if you want to reach
Yeah.
the pinnacle. You know what I mean? Which then puts in question your own
A
character.
good person couldn't arguably couldn't become president because the things, or just like you said, get to the highest levels of success and power because they wouldn't be willing to do some of those things.
That is so true. That is so true. Diving a little bit deeper into the lyrics, I felt this from the previous record, but even more so from this album, that this album lyrically felt very personal to me. Personal, I mean, in two different ways. Personal in terms of you guys exposing a little bit more of yourselves through the lyrical content, and then personal from a standpoint that I think anybody that listens to this record can connect with the lyrics and feel like the lyrics are written about
Mhm.
themselves.
I do think this record, we put so much time. We've always put time into our lyrics, but I think part of maturing too is just getting better in writing lyrics. And as I grow as a father and a musician and stuff, it's like I put a lot more like time and thought into the lyrics than I used to because let's be real, there's a lot of struggles that come with being like a father, plus the world having all the problems it has, plus just other tragedies happening in our life. And I've just had more to deal with, but as I mature, it's like I know how to verbalize my feelings a lot better. It's kind of like when I see with my son, he's 14. He can't ever verbalize what emotion. You say, "What's wrong?" No, no, no. It's like, "What's bothering?" No, no. And I feel like it's kind of that way as I get older. Like I can be sad and I genuinely don't know why, but as you get older and more introspective of things, you kind of start seeing why things are the way they are. And it becomes easier to like put that into words and put that into art. Some people are talented and can do that at a younger age, and that's how you have like prodigies that are. For me, it took a little longer because I was the I don't know kid pretty much until I was like 30 something. So my wife would be like, "What's going on?" I don't know. It's like I can tell you. So it's kind of nice, and I think it's making the lyrics more relatable because I think a lot of people are going through very similar things in life, but we just don't talk about it. So it's kind of like in a way talking about it, and people go, "Yeah, I'm also going through that," or "I also feel that way about this thing." And
Yeah.
sometimes you need somebody else to verbalize it for you. I think that's why music is so important when you're younger, especially because the music almost like helps you process your emotions.
Yeah, yeah. Verbalizing it also gives it a sense of reality that sometimes
Mm-hmm.
the person going through it doesn't want to do it because they want to escape that kind of reality. So if you talk about it, then you are almost reliving it, and then you are admitting
You
whatever
face it
the
head
issue
on.
is exists. Yeah. So that makes it a little bit tougher. I was listening to this record and the songs, like I said, it felt so personal to me. Like I felt like, man, these guys have been following me around. Like this record, like a lot of the topics really spoke to me. And I think whenever you can create an album like that, you always closer to success because it becomes timeless. The stories that you're telling, the lyrics that you're telling will resonate today, will resonate tomorrow. In a world where people get offended so easily, do you put some thought process in and maybe, I wouldn't say censor yourself, but you put a thought process into how far can you go with that lyrical exploration?
There's definitely times, but I've honestly like pissed off who I'm gonna piss off by this point
The
in my
box is
life as
checked.
far as yeah. And I think we kind of took the gloves off a little bit on this record and just didn't care as much, especially if you look at the music videos. I mean, one video has a guy getting set on fire, one has a guy getting killed with an axe. In the past, I would have never done that. I'd be like, no, our fans will be so upset. Like, especially like the Christian fans, they just, and now I'm just like, I don't care. Like at this stage, I've already said enough things to piss off a bunch of like people that don't see things the way I see them. So I'm just gonna do it. I
The
also
gloves
love
are
horror
coming off.
movies.
The gloves
Yeah.
are coming off. You're
Yeah,
taking no prisoners.
exactly.
I love the attitude. Now, how much of you guys have been playing a lot of live shows, touring a lot? How much of the live experience has bled into what the sound in the studio has become for the band?
It definitely plays a big role because you see what fans are enjoying live when you play your song. Like I'm studying, I don't have to play an instrument. I'm just screaming so I can stare at the crowd. And also, I like seeing the feedback, but I'm also seeing what are people singing along to? What are people moshing to or bobbing their heads to? And you kind of notice the trends of what people find are like their favorite parts. That especially I think helps with like heavy music, like our heavier songs. It's like okay, they really like these kind of riffs. Like maybe we should give them one of those type stuff. And I think the album is going to influence the live show a lot, and for the first time, maybe because we've always done the opposite, where the live show influences what we write. But now we're going to have the album influence the live show. Like we're going to put a lot more effort into our production, and even on the headliner, working on like getting video interludes between sections of the set that then are continuations of the music videos,
Mhm.
not just so that we can like give even more information during the shows. So it's like you coming to the show is like seeing hidden episodes and stuff like that. So just trying to do cooler things live because I think the album does have a lot of cool concepts and I don't want it to just be audio. I want it to be a visual experience.
The album also has a great cool thing in its sound is that it sounds big. It sounds like
Mhm.
an album that was designed to be played in the biggest venues possible. It just fills
Yeah.
the room. So from that perspective, I think that's also going to play into your hand in terms of taking the sound of that album and then presented it into a live experience that really works for everybody.
I think so. Yeah, that was a big goal of ours too. Is we need if you're gonna be a big band, you have to write music that sounds like a big band.
Yeah, yeah. My boss used to say
Yeah,
you have to dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. I don't know if that applies to every person's job, but
yeah.
it is a thing. It is a thing. Let's put it that
You
way.
fake it till you make it. You write songs that sound like they belong in an arena until you actually can play in an arena.
You fake it till you make it. You guys are definitely not faking it with this album. The album has, we were talking about the sound, has great production behind it. Did you guys took a different approach in terms of who you work with on this record?
We worked with Daniel Bronstein for this record. The last three we worked with Drew Folk, which we love him too. We just, three records with the same person. You want to change stuff up. Uh, and Daniel Bronstein's been on fire. I mean, he does the Spirit Box stuff. He does Dayseeker. He did the newest Silent Planet. Well, he's done Silent Planet for a while, but Silent Planet's like really popping off. And so he put a whole new like perspective on things for our ride, and it's cool because you go to him and he has heard our band from the distance for the last 10 years. And so you come into the studio and he's like, this is what I've always liked about your band. And this is what I see. And this is what I would like more of. So it's kind of cool because it's a producer that you haven't been working close with, getting to like give their opinion basically on what they've seen over just observing the band throughout the years. And on top of that production, I want to give a big credit to our drummer, Trey. He did a lot of the production work and I think he did an amazing job. He's so good with like just like cool sounds and setting cool vibes in the songs.
Yeah, I really liked what you guys did in terms of the synth work and those like little melodic atmospheric pieces that are intertwined into the fabric of the songs. A lot of more modern bands allow those elements to be so predominant that you could barely hear the guitars sometimes, or you can barely hear
Yeah.
the drums. You guys did not do that on this record. Like, you could still feel you could still hear the meat and potatoes of the sound of the band, but those elements just add so much clarity to everything that is happening, atmosphere to
Yeah.
everything that's I thought was genius to find the perfect balance to use it in a way that improves the songs, but it doesn't define the songs, if you know what I mean.
I agree. That was actually something we discussed. Where like we're at the end of the day, we are a metalcore band, and people want guitar, they want big drums, they want the vocals, but the production, like you said, adds like atmosphere. We wanted it to be like atmosphere more than like in your face, just like filling out the song and making it feel larger than life.
I have to ask you this because in my household, there's a huge discussion on breakdowns because I have a 21-year-old. I'm
Yeah,
47. So obviously there's this age gap in terms of how we perceive breakdowns in songs. Is there such a thing as too many breakdowns? How do you view it on a Fit for a King song with the impact that a breakdown can have?
I think it depends on the rest of the song or like how the song is structured because there definitely are songs where there are too many because I've always said we always say something if everything is heavy, then nothing is heavy. Like if you play a live show and every song is just straight beat down heavy, at least for me, I know there are people that enjoy it. So it's my personal taste. I like having soft melodic things to break it up because I think like the breakdown in Begin the Sacrifice isn't our heaviest breakdown, but it's one of the it feels like one of the biggest breakdowns because of what's around it. So sometimes I think it's almost more important, like how do you set up the breakdowns and how do they fit in within the song to that determines. I mean, Begin the Sacrifice has a lot of breakdowns. It's just the way they are put into the song. But then there's certain songs that we've written in the past where I'm like, okay, that might have been overkill on the breakdowns, but it's because they all felt so similar and there was like no break in between. So I think it's a big, it depends on the breakdown thing.
It depends on the song, I guess, in terms of what
Yeah.
the song calls for and what the song needs. You guys, speaking of what songs need, you guys had a couple of features on this record. I love how you guys work with those features also in terms of the album design, not
Mhm.
putting all those songs together in a bunch, kind of spreading them out, giving us a little bit something to look forward here and there. When it comes to working with other bands on songs, how is it for you? Does that come from a place of friendship? Or does that come from the same place as the breakdowns, what the song really needs in order to push it to the next level?
I think it's a mixture of both. Definitely friendship. Everybody on this record, we've been friends with for a long time. We've toured with. But then I hear songs like Witness the End. I heard it and I was like, oh man, Chris would sound so good on this. And so it's like I hear it and I'm like, the song could use this, but I'm also thinking of like friends that could be on it because it's like an excitement where I would get to share the stage eventually with them and do this part. So it's like bringing your friends over for a party. You think the album's doing great and it's cool, and you're wanting to invite a couple friends to come hang out on it.
Turning it all the way to 11.
Yep, exactly. And it's
Turning it all.
always people love a good collab, and we tried really hard on this record to make the collaborations not just like a little 20-second breakdown. Like as you can hear, all the guest vocal parts like pretty much start halfway through and then finish the entire song.
Yeah, it was a real collab, not like just
Yeah,
using the collab as a selling point for the song, but actually making it an integral part of the song. And that I thought that was something that really sets these apart as well.
yeah, exactly.
So you guys have a massive tour happening in the fall. In case you haven't checked your calendar yet, you're going to be in Toronto, my hometown, November 18th, playing at History. I would say it's
Yep.
probably the biggest venue we have, and at least indoor venue that we have in
Yeah, I
Toronto.
think the biggest, it's not like a pavilion or
Yeah, yeah.
something
Well,
like that.
Budweiser is bigger, but it's outdoor stage. This, as far as an indoor, is the biggest. How excited are you about this tour? And how excited are you to come to Toronto and play some of these songs? Because it's not your first rodeo when it comes to Toronto.
I'm so excited. I think fans that have seen us before are going to be very surprised at how different the live show is, as far as like how big and theatrical and stuff it feels. And I mean, I'm not going to be dressing up or painting my face or any of that. That's just not who I am as a person. So it would be very forced if I did it. So, but as far as like adding the video content and the lighting and the mood. Just I think a lot of things will be a different vibe than the last time, but in the best way possible.
I'm looking forward to it. I think you guys are going to sell out the place. The lineup of on this tour is killer. That venue is phenomenal.
I
So
love that venue. It sounds really good.
sounds good. It has a nice space, great for the mosh pit happening. Like it's a
Yeah,
really good venue, big stage too. So from a production standpoint, you have some room to play
you
with.
can fit more stuff on there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think it's going to be great for you guys. I'm super excited. I already marked it on my calendar, so I'm definitely going to be coming down to see you guys November 18th at History. And now the last question for you is, you mentioned that a lot of this album is going to bleed into this tour. Is there a specific song or songs from this record that you're super excited to perform live?
I'm really excited to play Extinction live. I think that it's gonna just be like the whole pit opens all the way up. You've
Yeah,
heard the record, so
yeah,
you know what I mean by it'll open up.
yeah.
And then we're playing the first four tracks exactly how they are. Like the first four
Oh,
songs of the
sure.
set are exactly like the album. So because I love how it goes from begin the sacrifice into the temple into extinction into no tomorrow. I think the flow of those are really good.
The whole flow of the album is really good, but that first half of the record really sets up everything that happens next. And you guys did a wonderful job, including some more softer tracks. I'm almost tempted to say ballad-esque
Yeah.
style songs in there, but I loved it because without that, the album would become super monotonous. Because then, like you said, everything is just heavy, and you can't tell what's heavier than the other. So having those songs that
Yeah.
kind of break down really help the fluidity of the album. But the album starts off with such a strong note that almost forces the listener to just sit all the way through. You don't want to come off that ride once the ride is that enjoyable. So having those four songs packed in a set list, man, it's going to be crazy.
No, I can't wait to play it live. We got, about 4 more months, 5 more months to, no, 4 months to wait.
Are you counting the days?
Yeah, for the most part. I get excited about headline tours. I get excited about most tours, but headlining especially because it's like you get to represent your album and the way you want to.
It's important for you when you release an album like this that the first tour that follows that record is a headlining tour more than a support tour.
I think it depends. Sometimes it's really good to support because you're like can reach a bunch of new fans immediately. Like, hey, we're playing in front of a 90% of people that have never heard of us. By the way, new records out. So it's like they get to go check it out. But I think the sweet spot is headlining like 3 to 6 months after the album comes out. So people have had time
To
to like
digest it.
sit with it and really learn it and appreciate it. So when they see it live, it means a lot more than just, oh, new songs. I should go check it out sometime.
Yeah, but plus it gives time for people to learn the lyrics. God forbid, because when you're
Yeah,
paying
we
attention
got to
to
hold out the
people,
microphone for some parts.
yeah, yeah, and not only that, like you don't want people throwing you off with mumbling the lyrics or
I
fumbling
know.
something, and then next thing you
We
know, you
call it
lose
fish
track of where you
lips.
are.
They do the fish lip where you can tell they're not even saying the lyrics. They're just moving their mouth.
Yeah, yeah. So you're going to be calling people out. I can tell that you're paying attention to what's going on. So people
Oh,
from
I see you guys. I see when you don't know the words.
he's taking receipts. So everybody, you have time enough to learn those lyrics for this fall tour headlining Fit for a King. Once again, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Toronto. Maybe we can chat in Toronto to talk a little bit about the tour run and how things are going. Ryan, this was an absolute pleasure. Like I said, you guys are setting the bar for metalcore this year in terms of what everybody needs to, at the very least, aspire to be with this record.
That
Lonely
means a
Life.
lot. Thank you.
Thanks.